You ever have one of those days where the house feels just a little too quiet? That's how it started for me, a regular Tuesday, if you can call the slow unraveling of your life regular. My name's Daniel Royce, and I'm the guy who thought he married his best friend. Turns out, I married a novelist with a flair for betrayal and a taste for dramatic exits. I took the day off work to do something I hadn't done in years. Clean. Not your light, surface-level clean. I mean the move the couch, clean under the bed, fight whatever monster lives behind the fridge kind of clean. Call it spring cleaning. Call it a midlife crisis. Call it a man trying to sweep something right in his life, even if it's just the kitchen floor. It was around hour 3, just me, the vacuum, and a podcast about unsolved crimes, when I found it. I was dusting the bookshelf in our office. Well, her office. A place she liked to retreat into for inspiration, which I now realize was code for texting some guy who smells like expensive soap and poor decisions. Tucked between 2 self-help books she never read, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Damn and How to Mend a Marriage, oh, the irony, was a manila folder. No label. No reason for it to be there. Naturally, I opened it. Curiosity didn't just kill the cat. It destroyed my delusion. Inside, there was a single page. A draft. Handwritten. My wife always wrote her first drafts by hand, said typing killed the soul of a story. I used to think that was poetic. No, I think it's just slower forensics. The note started like this. To my dearest Andrew. There's no easy way to say this, but I can't keep living in a lie. With you, I felt alive for the first time in years. You remind me of who I used to be before comfort became confinement. I'm done pretending. I'm done settling. I'm leaving everything behind. She underlined that part. Everything. That includes me. Our house. Our dog, probably. She had drawn a little heart next to his name. Andrew. The name hit me like a broken mirror, 7 years of bad luck, all at once. There was more. A lot more. But that's where I'll leave you for now. Because this, my friend, is where the story begins, not with her betrayal, but with my awakening. Andrew. Just a name. Common. Soft. Rolls off the tongue like a guy who drinks red wine with 2 fingers and refers to his dog as his fur baby. But when it's written in your wife's handwriting, with a heart beside it, it doesn't feel common. It feels radioactive. I stared at that note longer than I'd admit to a therapist. Then I did what every man does when he finds something suspicious. I read it again, slower, like maybe I missed the part where it said, just kidding. Spoiler alert, there was no punchline. The handwriting was unmistakable, flowy, romantic, overly dramatic. She always signed birthday cards like she was applying for a book deal. But this wasn't a card. This was a draft of a full-blown exit strategy, and I was apparently the last to know I was being evacuated. I took a deep breath. No yelling. No smashing things. Just quiet. I'm not the type to throw a fit. Never been. I'm the guy who fixes the garbage disposal before coffee and listens when she vents about work. Loyal. Steady. Boring. Maybe. But dependable. I slipped the letter back into the folder like it might explode and sat down at her desk. You ever realize that someone's whole life was happening right under your nose, and you were too busy paying the mortgage to notice? I turned on her computer. She never let me use it. Said it was just for work, and I respected that. That's the thing about respect. It works great until someone uses it as a hiding place. Logged in with her password, Sunflowers7. Cute. That was our honeymoon flower. Ironic, considering what I found. An open draft folder, labeled Journal, Private. You'd think if you're planning an emotional jailbreak, you'd put a password on the door. Then again, arrogance makes people lazy. And she was nothing if not arrogantly lazy about covering her tracks. There it was, weeks of entries. Not all about Andrew, some were about me. Most weren't flattering. She wrote like I was an obligation. A habit. A meal she'd grown tired of chewing. But the entries about him? Pure poetry. Apparently, Andrew made her feel wild again. He saw her. He awakened things in her. Things I guess I buried somewhere under grocery lists and vacuumed carpets. And then I saw it. A date. Next Saturday. She was planning to leave. Run off. Start fresh. And I was supposed to stay behind like an old coat she didn't need anymore. Except I don't take kindly to being thrown out. So I made a plan of my own. Now, I don't fancy myself a detective. I'm not lurking in the shadows or listening through walls with a glass, though let me tell you, I considered it. But when your wife's writing love letters to another man and planning a theatrical exit, you don't need Sherlock Holmes. You just need Wi-Fi and a patient poker face. For the rest of that day, I played dumb. Olympic level dumb. Gold medal dumb. I smiled when she got home. Asked how her day went. She said, fine, which is how guilty people respond when you ask innocent questions. She kissed me on the cheek. Cheek, not lips. I cataloged that. At dinner, I let her talk. Mostly about work. I nodded, refilled her wine, laughed when appropriate. It's strange, you know. Sitting across from someone who thinks they're fooling you, while you're already 10 steps ahead. Felt like I was watching a play, and I'd already read the script. That night, while she was in the shower, her second of the day, interesting, I did some light reconnaissance. Checked her bag. Her planner was in there. I know, planner sounds harmless, like it holds coupons and grocery lists. But oh no. This one was the Book of Revelations, Cheater Edition. Inside was a series of coded hearts and times. Lunches that weren't lunches. Meetings that were suspiciously recurring. One entry stood out. Saturday, 9 a.m., leave. That was it. Like it was a dentist appointment. Just leave. Not run away from my marriage. Not start new life with yoga-haired Andrew. Just leave. I closed the planner and returned it to her bag exactly as I'd found it. Then I did the hardest part of the whole day. I slept beside her, like nothing was wrong. Like the woman lying next to me hadn't already decided I was just a page in her past. And you know what? I slept fine. Because I had a plan now. Not a plan to scream. Not to beg. Not to cry. A plan to let her walk, right into the trap she didn't even know she was setting for herself. I spent the next few days gathering intel the way any self-respecting betrayed husband would. Politely and with a spreadsheet. That's right. I tracked the woman's movements like a budget analyst hunting for loose receipts. Wednesday lunch? Book club. Funny, she came home smelling like cinnamon and aftershave. Thursday night? Work drinks? I followed her. Just once. Nothing dramatic. Parked 2 rows back in the Applebee's lot and watched her meet Andrew, tall, 10, tight jeans that screamed. I peaked in high school. He hugged her like he'd earned her, like he was taking something that didn't belong to him and smiling while he did it. I sat there in my car, eating a gas station burrito and watching the two of them sip mojitos under fairy lights. It was a charming scene, really. Looked like a toothpaste commercial. If you didn't know one of them was detonating a marriage to get there, you'd almost root for them. But I knew. And I wasn't rooting. Here's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't always come with blood or yelling. Sometimes it just comes with silence. Long, thoughtful silence. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream into a steering wheel. I drove home, flossed my teeth, and emailed my lawyer. Oh yes, I have a lawyer. His name's Marvin, and Marvin is a silent killer in a cardigan. The man once settled a property dispute with a post-it note and a stare. I told him everything. The letter, the dates, the affair, the plan to leave. Marvin said 5 words that made my night. Let her go through with it. See, Marvin's not about emotional justice. He's about legal leverage. And a woman who walks out on a marriage to run off with a tan Ken doll is about to lose more than her reputation. She's going to lose the house, the dog, and half her Starbucks stock. That night, I took out the trash and waved to my neighbor, who has always liked my wife a bit too much. For once, I smiled at him like we were in on the same joke. Because now, we were. Saturday morning came with all the pageantry of a well-rehearsed escape. The kind of morning my wife used to call perfect. Clear skies, coffee brewing, the scent of her favorite lilac candles wafting through the house like even the air was rooting for her. She came downstairs with a bag that wasn't her usual gym tote. Leather. Designer. The kind of bag you take when you're not planning to come back. Going somewhere? I asked, sipping coffee, the paper spread in front of me like I was living in a Norman Rockwell painting instead of a domestic minefield. She blinked. Caught off guard. Guilty people always expect a confrontation. They never expect calm. Oh, just meeting Caroline for brunch. She smiled a little too wide. I nodded slowly. Tell her I said hi. That was it. I didn't ask which restaurant. I didn't ask when she'd be back. I didn't even ask why she was wearing lipstick that costs more than our water bill. I just gave her the rope. And she took it. She hesitated in the doorway. Not long. A flicker. The kind of pause you give a dog before closing the door behind you. Then she left. I waited. 23 minutes later, a black sedan pulled up across the street. Andrew. I didn't need to see his face. The man drove like someone who just Googled cool entrances. She got in, and they drove off toward their fairy tale ending, unaware that their love story had been rerouted. See, I didn't just let her go. I'd helped her pack. Let me explain. 2 days prior, I'd made a few calls. The bank, the storage company, Marvin the lawyer. Everything was lined up. I moved half of our joint savings into a separate account, perfectly legal, since it was earmarked for upcoming expenses, like a lawyer that billed by the glare. I also rented a storage unit in my name and began Operation She Can Have Him. I boxed her things. Not angrily, not with bitterness, but with the cold, detached efficiency of a man clearing out a hotel room. Labeled every box. Clothes. Makeup. That weird humidifier she claimed improved her aura. All of it. Friday afternoon, while she was at yoga, I had a moving company take every trace of her existence to the unit. Bedroom closets. Bathroom drawers. Even the spare key hidden in the kitchen drawer, which I replaced with a note that simply said, "Namaste somewhere else." When she came back that evening, she didn't notice anything missing. That's the thing about leaving mentally, you stop seeing the physical. She was too busy mentally fast-forwarding to Andrew's arms to realize I'd already started the credits on our marriage. Back to Saturday. I waited another 15 minutes after her dramatic exit. Then I made my move. I got in my truck, drove 2 blocks down, and parked by the community mailbox. Just far enough to watch the house without being obvious. It's amazing how little you think of your spouse's ability to lie until you're watching them actually do it in real time. 20 minutes later, a woman I recognized from our HOA pulled into the driveway. She was early. I'd asked her to swing by to pick up some papers, figured it wouldn't hurt to have a witness. She waved at me through her windshield. I walked up, handed her a sealed manila envelope marked "To whom it may concern," and told her to hang on to it for a few hours. Inside the envelope, a printed copy of my wife's handwritten letter to Andrew, a few screenshots of her brunch text messages, and a photo I snapped through the blinds of her getting into his car. Not the most flattering angle, caught her mid-sprint like she was racing a guilty conscience, but it did the job. If anything happened, if she tried to pull any stunts in court, I had insurance. 3 hours passed before my phone buzzed. It was her. "Sarah, hey. I'm gonna stay with Caroline tonight. Just wanted to let you know." I laughed out loud. Caroline. Poor woman didn't even exist outside of my wife's excuses. At this point, Caroline might as well have been a unicorn with a gym membership. I didn't respond. Let her marinate in the silence. Instead, I sent Marvin a text. She's officially out. Begin Phase 2. Phase 2 was the legal detonation. By Monday morning, Marvin had filed the divorce petition, citing abandonment and adultery. Our state still cares about that stuff if you have documentation. I had enough to publish a memoir. He also drafted a letter revoking her access to our joint accounts and freezing any remaining shared credit. Not out of spite. Just practicality. You don't let a thief keep the keys to the vault. That afternoon, I changed the locks. Not just the physical ones, digital too. Garage code, Wi-Fi password, even the streaming service. Petty? Maybe. But no one cheats and still gets to watch my HBO. That night, I sat in the quiet house. Alone. Peaceful. The absence of her perfume in the hallways, of her boots by the door, was oddly comforting. Like my home had finally exhaled. I poured myself a drink, put on my favorite blues record, and smiled. She thought she'd vanish into a romantic sunset. She didn't realize the road was closed, and the detour ran straight through me. Sunday came with the weight of silence. No texts. No calls. No, oops, I forgot my toothbrush moment from my wife. Just quiet. The kind that doesn't bother you when you're alone, only when you've been lied to in stereo for months. I wasn't expecting her to come crawling back. That would require shame. And from what I'd read in her planner, and that handwritten love note, she wasn't drowning in guilt. She was surfing it. Riding it straight into Andrew's arms, assuming his arms had room between the hair gel and inflated ego. So imagine my surprise when, around noon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I stared at it for a beat too long, like it might bite. Curiosity wins. It always does. Hello. The voice was nervous. Too smooth to be panicked, but trying hard to sound composed. Hey. This is Andrew. Well, look who finally grew thumbs. I didn't say anything right away. Let him twist a little. There's something satisfying about a man who thinks he's got it all, suddenly realizing he bought the wrong stock. He cleared his throat. I know this is awkward, but I thought maybe we should talk. You thought wrong, I said, and was just about to hang up when he blurted out. She's not who I thought she was. The honeymoon, it seems, had expired early. I leaned back in my chair, put the phone on speaker, and let the man talk himself off a cliff. She told me it was over with you. That you were cold. controlling, that you didn't care anymore. But last night, man. He trailed off. I imagined him sitting on the edge of a mattress in some cheap Airbnb, running his hands through his gel-stiff hair, trying to piece together how his Hallmark movie had turned into a soap opera rerun. I saw her phone while she was in the shower, he said. I wasn't snooping. It just lit up. I saw your name. I saw a message from someone named Marvin. Looked like a lawyer. And then a calendar reminder popped up. Meet with Andrew. Discuss exit strategy. I almost laughed. Discuss exit strategy? What is she? An undercover agent. She's been playing both of us, he said, and there it was, the sweet, bitter music of realization. I thought we had something real. You were her vacation, I said simply. And now the trip's over. He sighed. She told me she loved me. She tells the dog she loves him too. But she still forgets to feed him when she's tired. Silence on the line. Then quietly, what are you going to do? I smiled. Already done. He didn't respond right away. I could feel the weight shifting in his voice. That smug confidence I imagined he wore like cologne was starting to fade. Listen, he finally said, I didn't know she was still. Save it. You don't owe me an apology. You owe yourself a better compass. I hung up. That was enough closure for both of us. Monday morning, she came back. Not with tears. Not with regret. No. She came in like she still lived there. Like she hadn't just spent the weekend auditioning for a new life and found out the director didn't like her performance. She opened the front door with her key, which didn't work, of course, and stood there staring at the new lock like it had betrayed her too. I watched through the living room window, sipping coffee. She knocked. I didn't rush. I opened the door with all the urgency of a man checking the weather. Problem? I asked. Her expression was a mix of shock and annoyance. You changed the locks? Sure did. After you left for brunch with Caroline. She blinked. We need to talk. Talk? Oh, now you want to talk. I'm still your wife. For now. She narrowed her eyes. That hit the ego. Good. She stood there, arms crossed, like the posture itself gave her leverage. So you're just locking me out of my own home? Our home, I corrected. But don't worry. Your things are at safe space storage. Unit 412. Keys under the mat. She looked stunned. Genuinely stunned. Like she hadn't actually planned for consequences. Like she was just going to roll back in, and I'd be standing there, bouquet in hand, ready to forgive and forget. I don't understand, she muttered. No, I said. You don't. That's the problem. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just stood there in the doorway, soaking in the reality that for the first time in this little drama, she wasn't the director. She was just another cast member who'd missed the final script revision. She left without another word. By Wednesday, the paperwork was underway. Marvin, as usual, handled it with surgical precision. Adultery, abandonment, asset division, all laid out clean and legal. She texted me once. Sarah, I just wish you'd fought for me. Fought? You don't fight to keep a liar. You don't go to war for someone who already surrendered to someone else. I didn't reply. I just let her message sit there. Delivered. Read. Ignored. Because that's the new chapter. No screaming matches. No thrown plates. No slashed tires or wild accusations. Just the quiet dignity of a man who saw the fire, watched it burn, and calmly walked out of the house with the deed in his back pocket. In the days that followed, Sarah tried damage control the way a politician does when they're caught with their pants down and their poll numbers in freefall. She messaged mutual friends. Claimed I was overreacting. Said things had been complicated for a long time. Translation? She got caught. And now she needed a parachute. But here's the thing about cheating. Once you break the glass, everyone gets cut. Our friends weren't buying it. Turns out, the people who'd seen our marriage up close for years didn't like being lied to either. One couple even called me and said, we always thought something was off with her. Now it makes sense. That call ended with them offering me bourbon and brisket. I consider that closure. Sarah's text got more desperate. First, it was, I miss you. Then, I made a mistake. Finally, can we meet to talk? I didn't answer any of them. Not out of spite. Out of clarity. Talking to her was like arguing with a magician. You only do it if you want to be tricked again. Meanwhile, Andrew disappeared from the picture faster than a summer fling once the leaves change. I heard through the grapevine that he moved back in with his sister. Guess there's no mattress firm enough when you're sleeping on guilt and awkward silence. About a month in, Marvin called. She's requested mediation, he said, casually flipping through legal landmines like they were menu items. Wants to avoid a court battle. Interesting. She wanted peace now. After planting landmines in our marriage and dancing off into the sunset, she was hoping for a handshake and a clean split. I agreed. Not because I forgave her, but because I wanted to look her in the eye one last time and let her see the man who didn't break. We met at a neutral law office. Long table, bottled water, mediator with the energy of a substitute teacher who'd rather be golfing. Sarah walked in wearing a dress I bought her 2 Christmases ago. I took that as an attempt at nostalgia. Didn't work. The mediator asked us to state what we hoped to get out of the meeting. I want what's fair, she said. I raised an eyebrow. You mean half of what you tried to walk away from? She flinched. Not a lot. Just enough. The meeting dragged on. Terms were reviewed. Property divided. She tried to argue for sentimental items, photos, mementos, a chair we bought in Aspen. I let her have it. Let her have all of it. Because nothing she carried out of that room would outweigh what she left behind. And right before it ended, she said something I'll never forget. I didn't think you had it in you. I smiled. That makes 2 of us. The day the divorce was finalized, I didn't feel victorious. I felt quiet. Not sad. Not angry. Just clear. The house was different now. Lighter. Not because she was gone, but because I no longer had to pretend. I got a dog. A big, clumsy Labrador named Moose. Moose doesn't lie. Moose doesn't take off for the weekend with his coworker and call it brunch. Moose loves you because you feed him and scratch behind his ears, and he's never once threatened to leave you for someone who does CrossFit. I also started going out more. Not dating. Not yet. Just existing again. Dinners with friends. Sunday mornings at the farmer's market. Even joined a kickboxing class, which I admit I joined purely out of spite. You'd be surprised how satisfying it is to punch a bag and pretend it's metaphorical infidelity. And one night, I found the letter again. The original draft. The one I'd found in the office, written in her elegant, slanted script. I read it again, slowly, like a eulogy, and then I burned it in the backyard fire pit with a glass of whiskey in hand. Because closure isn't something you wait for. You light it yourself. You might be wondering what my revenge was. Was it the frozen accounts? The eviction? The calm silence? Not exactly. The revenge was dignity. That's what she didn't expect. She thought she'd shatter me, and I'd spend the rest of my life combing through the pieces. But I didn't. I swept them up, tossed what didn't serve me, and built something stronger. She, on the other hand, lives with the fact that the man she ran to wasn't Prince Charming, just a better liar in tighter jeans. And the man she left? He didn't beg. He didn't crawl. He rose. I heard she tried dating again. I don't keep tabs, but word gets around. Apparently, every guy she meets is too distant or not emotionally available. Ironic, really. She set fire to a forest and now complains that she can't find shade. Me? I'm doing fine. Better than fine. There's a woman at my gym who smiles when she sees me. Real smile. No hearts drawn in notebooks. Just 2 grown people who've seen enough to know what not to do. We're taking it slow. Because love isn't a sprint. It's a hike, with blisters and sweat and views that make it all worth it. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. I disagree. Revenge is served at room temperature, with paperwork, peace of mind, and a smile she'll never forget. And that, my friend, is how you lose a cheating wife and win everything else.